Sick of getting blisters? Stop slipping and just be comfortable with Pure Grip Socks Pro. Great fit, great comfort, lots of grip, and an even better price. Available now at puregripsocks.com.
Say hello to the Infinito Messi Adidas X Crazyfast.1, his first signature football boot since joining Inter Miami in the MLS. Obviously something that is going very well for him at the moment. They retail for the same $260 as regular Crazyfast.1 colorways. However, Messi himself doesn't actually like these boots because the version that he's wearing, while they might look the same from a distance, they're actually quite a bit different. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about in today's video. Why can't Adidas release a football boot that Messi actually likes to wear? And if by chance you don't care about having the same boots as Messi, you just like the way these look, and in general, the Crazyfast.1 is actually a really solid pair of speed boots. You can pick these up below the normal retail price by way of some exclusive SR4U coupon codes by checking out the first link down below. On the retail version of the Crazyfast.1 upper, you're going to find that it's made up of two main elements, that being a textile-based synthetic material as well as a one-piece construction, both of which you will not find on Messi's actual football boots. And this thin textile-based upper is really pliable, offers no extra padding whatsoever, and realistically, if you're looking for that barefoot sensation, this is pretty much as good as it gets. It's on par with every other super thin speed boot, and as far as the one-piece upper construction is concerned, it does a really good job of wrapping your foot. I think it's a huge improvement over the Speed Portal 0.1 that it replaces, and the lacing system allows for plenty of adjustability and great overall lockdown, giving you not only a great barefoot feel on the ball, but a close wrap around your foot, and in general, a very responsive sensation on your feet. Where if you take a closer look at Messi's boots, you can very clearly see that none of the texturing from this textile-based synthetic is present. Instead, it almost looks like a leather material, perhaps some kind of variation of hybrid touch, for pretty well the entirety of the upper. Not to say that the boots aren't thin, but you can very clearly see that these definitely have more thickness to them and likely offer some level of padding. Obviously, he has some kind of a preference for a pair of football boots that are a little bit padded, whether it's a comfort thing or a feel thing, perhaps both. It's clear to see that his upper is entirely different from the retail variation. You'll also notice across the top of the foot, Messi's boots do not feature a one-piece upper, and this has been a thing basically since 2017, where every Messi signature boot at retail has had a one-piece upper construction, although it seems like Messi, since the Messi 16.1, which actually had a burrito-style tongue at retail, is something that Messi really liked and has kind of clung on to with every model after it, including the latest Crazyfast.1. Why this change? I can only assume it's a personal preference thing more than anything. I think when you make a one-piece upper, the shape ends up being a little bit predetermined, and that obviously wouldn't be a huge issue for Messi, being that his boots are very clearly custom shaped to his feet. However, when it comes to putting them on and taking them off, maybe it makes it a little bit easier, and in general, you can just have the top of the boot kind of wrap your foot a little bit more closely. But it's very clear to see that he's still sticking with that burrito-style separated tongue rather than a one-piece construction, which again is what everybody has access to. Another minor difference with Messi's boots is going to come in the low-cut opening, where of course there's still a low-cut design like the retail variation, but you can see on these boots, as with so many boots featuring textile knitted uppers, you have kind of an ending of the heel liner, and then you have a little bit of a mock collar in this elasticated knit material, something that early on was maybe a little bit uncomfortable when brands first started doing this, but at this point it's pretty refined, and I've really had no comfort issues with these, nor with most boots that have a very similar design, where on Messi's you can see that the lining material from the heel actually wraps across the top of the edge of the opening itself, similar to something like, for example, the Nike Tiempo Legend 9 Elite. It's arguably a little bit more of a traditional way of constructing a pair of football boots, where again, that heel liner wraps across the top of the lip and then kind of is stitched on the outside, basically leaving you with a little bit more of a smoother edge. Moving to the base of the Crazyfast.1, you are going to get that plastic sole plate with the extended stability wings, kind of acting as an external heel counter on both the lateral and medial side. And then of course that plastic insert that replaces the Carbitex one that was originally introduced on the Speed Flow, made its way onto the Speed Portal, and then kind of halfway through its run was discontinued. It's now plastic, but still gives you that really springy sensation. That element of Messi's boots, from what you can see in pictures, and unless you actually had a pair in hand, it's really difficult to say that there's any difference, but from what I can tell, his sole plate looks to be very similar to that of the retail variation. The studs, however, him wearing FG studs, might be a little bit different. And this is something that, again, Messi seems to have preferred over the years since the introduction of the Messi 16, where this specific stud pattern, kind of these more small shaped, kind of triangular studs, maybe a little bit smaller and dig into the ground a little bit easier than what Adidas currently puts out, is what he seems to have on his Crazyfast.1, as he did with the Speed Portal and as he has had basically since 2016. There's a lot of elements from this particular football boot that he seemed to really like, and they've just carried over with every new generation of boots for Messi, despite the retail model, of course, being significantly different. Do I think that this stud pattern is superior to what you get on the retail variation? Not really, in my opinion. I don't find there to be that much of a difference in traction between the two, but it seems to be something that Messi really likes. And again, it's a difference from what he wears versus what you can actually get. On feet, the Crazyfast.1 feels really good. While it's definitely not my favorite pair of speed boots from a fit or comfort perspective, if you've been a fan of the Adidas X line for the last couple of years, I definitely think this is one of their better variations. The upper is thin, wraps your foot very closely, the shape is hugely improved over the Speed Portal 0.1 that it replaces, and it has really nice pliability to it. Obviously, in contrast to Messi's boots, his definitely appear to have a little bit more of a softer, slightly more padded material, so you're not going to get the same bulging and creasing as you will in the retail variation, but again, it's a completely different material altogether. So if you were hoping to have the same touch as Messi, because these are technically the Messi boots, you're not necessarily getting that in terms of the boots that you can buy from the store. From a fit perspective, these definitely have some decent width to them if you like that snug fit. Obviously, that's kind of a common characteristic of the speed boot category in general, but I definitely don't think these are overly narrow in any way. Definitely most snug through the midfoot, but decent amount of width through the forefoot and toe box area, suitable for most foot types as long as you don't have excessively wide feet. And as far as sizing is concerned, I'm wearing these in my usual size 9.5 US, and the fit and the length is perfect. So if you are looking to get a pair, I would strongly recommend going true to size in order to achieve the best possible fit. So in conclusion, I think this is actually a really tricky situation for Adidas to navigate, because Messi, being a guy that is signed to a lifetime contract with them, obviously likes the product that they make for him, but he also seems to be the type of player that wants consistency. He wants a very similar boot year after year, which is totally understandable. And when you're talking about the constantly changing and very hype motivated football boot market, it's really difficult to put out the same product year after year and maintain any level of interest, even if they're slapping Messi's name on the product. So it's one of those things where I totally understand why the retail variation is so significantly different from what Messi actually wears, but being a little bit of a football boot nerd, I think it would be really cool, and I think there's plenty of people out there that would really appreciate some kind of limited edition pro-issued variation of Messi's football boot as a public release. But as it stands right now, I do think the Crazyfast.1 with laces is actually a really solid pair of speed boots. But if you truly did want something that is more along the lines of what Messi actually wears, you'd probably be better off going for something like an Adidas Copa Pure 0.1, perhaps something like a Mizuno Morelia Neo 3 or 4, perhaps even something like a Nike Tiempo Legend 10 Elite, because it really does look like the upper on his football boot is more geared towards being a little bit softer and a little bit more padded rather than super raw and thin, which is what you get from the retail variation.